We're sorry, bandwidth limit exceeded. To continue surfing, please call now and upgrade your package.
You know, we joke a lot, but the sad truth is you could hear this message very soon. Once again, your freedom is at risk. Big internet ISPs and the government are trying to take away more of your rights than usual. But you can do something about it.
That's right. It's super easy to do. Both of us went to battleforthenet.com today, and we made our voices heard. Battleforthenet.com has everything you need to know about the net neutrality movement, and it has everything.
We're sorry, your internet provider has deemed this content unsuitable for viewing in your area.
Go to battleforthenet.com.
Please make your voice heard. Make a difference.
Mass UFO sighting.
Now this creature is said to prowl the swamps.
Everything is alive.
Becomes more transparent and then finally disappears.
They're a lot closer than we've been thinking. Well, folks, it is Friday night, and you know what that means. Of course, Ryan and I are here to hang out with you. How you doing, Ryan? Have we got you on mute again? This happened last show where we had him, but we didn't have him. Ryan, are you with us?
I'm here now.
We're going to get the hang of mute one of these days. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Good.
We get creeped out.
Yeah, we've actually got a kind of a creepy show. Usually it's more informational, I think, and this week it's going to be kind of creepy. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm Dale, and we've got some announcements coming up about the shows. I want to apologize about our last Wednesday night show. It was supposed to be at 10, but I was on vacation and I didn't get out of the pool in time, and that's completely on me. I feel really bad about it, but I did enjoy the pool. If you care,
blame you there.
Yeah, so I'm sorry about that, guys. Dark Falls, you had mentioned that you were there on time. No, that was me. That was not on you. I appreciate you showing up. We're going to actually change our shows to another night and make it easier for, I think, everybody involved. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I do want to mention that Princess Jazz is feeling under the weather. So, Princess Jazz, we hope that you feel better soon. She's going to come on and actually tell a really creepy story she has, which is going to be fun. I'm pretty excited about it.
We wish you a speedy recovery. Hope everything's okay.
Yeah, we hope that you're feeling better soon. And yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get to the news, Ryan. As usual, you go first.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I've got some interesting sort of celebrity news.
Oh, yeah, Dish.
Here.
Yeah.
Related to paranormal, of course.
Not at all. This is just about Justin Bieber, right? All right.
Yeah, exactly. So, in a July 28th interview with Vice Media, Alien star Yaphet Kotto has admitted to his experiences with real-life aliens.
Ooh.
So, not only is he tangled with xenomorphs on the silver screen, but apparently he's had his own sort of encounters too.
Well, do you think this goes back into the conversation we've had of you open yourself up to it and maybe it can happen?
I wonder. Well, what he actually says, and let me pull up his quote here.
Okay.
He's been experiencing this for a while.
Wow.
Actually. Okay, so let's see. So he was doing this interview with Vice, and of course, you know, he played the engineer named Parker on in the film. So of course that's going to bring aliens into the conversation. So here's what he had to say. You know, he said, you know, actually, I have some experience with real life aliens. So he does believe they're real. He also believes that he has been abducted on occasion.
Wow. Okay.
So that's always interesting to hear from a celebrity.
Has this been, do you know if this has been since the movie or was it before? Or you have any idea?
So here's what he has to say. This will explain it.
Okay.
This is his exact words. I was having extraterrestrial experiences from the time I was 10 years old.
Had I just have listened instead of asking questions. All right, go ahead.
Weird experiences. First, they took me to a psychiatrist, a priest, a rabbi, and no one could dispute it. Why would I be making things like this up at 10 years old? I saw the damn things, he says. So his most prominent story, he says, I was looking out the window, watching my friends play stickball, and I was grounded in the house for coming home late from school. I got tired of watching them play, and I turned to leave, and standing right at the edge of the doorway to my room was a figure of what we now refer to as the Greys.
Ooh.
He saw me, and he leaped out of the way like he didn't want me to catch him. I looked down the hall, and there was nobody there. I asked my grandmother if there was anybody in the house with us, and she said no, just you and me. But I never forgot that. And as I got to be a teenager and as an adult, I realized, holy shit, that was an alien. I didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything to me back then, but looking back, I thought, wait a minute, brother, these guys are real. I didn't accept it fully until I was 35, maybe 40 years old. And a lot of the time, I never talk about it. So,
Well,
he has an account of one of these things actually in his house.
that's that. Well, not to sound silly, but that hits close to home. I mean, when you don't want them in your house,
Yeah.
they know where you live. I don't like that.
And we've talked in the past, especially on our episode about our fears, I think one of the things that makes Greys themselves scary is that there really are no boundaries to them.
Mm-hmm.
If they want them in your house, they will be there. Again, these things, whether they're from another dimension or a distant time, if they have the technology to do that, then I don't think our wooden and metal houses are really going to stop them.
I have to concur. That sucks to know, but
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think there is a protection service for that, and there are no real Ghostbusters, unfortunately. Well, I mean, I don't think there's any alien busters, at least.
Yeah.
What sucks too about an alien encounter is if you go yapping, not only did you, get dealt with by an alien, but the men in black may come for you because they don't want you yapping.
That's true too.
Yeah, so it's a double-edged sword.
The problem with Mr. Kodo here, he's this account happened when he was 10 years old, so what proof does he have to show for it? That's another one of those things where you've experienced something extraordinary, but why would you ever talk about it? Or, who's going to believe you?
Sure.
So you just kind of end up burying it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I think that's a sign of the change in times. That's one of the reasons we do the show is so that we can, local folks, folks from Zimbabwe, wherever, you can share your story and, it be an open conversation where you won't be belittled. And I think we're in times now where, that's more of an option. Now, you remember growing up, our experiences, we didn't just go out and telling everybody about them.
right.
It's very, very different times. And you can imagine way back then. Darkfall says, or the men in the clean white coats. Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, any suited fellows showing up at your door, you should consider it before you open.
It's probably going to be bad news.
Yeah,
Either way.
it's going to be bad. Yeah, so just always consider guys in suits. Or probably ladies in suits. Let's not make it, a sexist thing. People in suits at your door can be scary. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's...
Unless you play the whole Publishers Clearinghouse thing. But
that's true.
I don't, so...
Right. I've got a fair range of news here. I actually, I couldn't decide tonight, so I've got quite a bit of news. I'll try not to kill your time with it, everybody, but a few things I found quite interesting this week. So, what do you think about caterpillars having a zombie virus? Is that weird? Is that weird? I don't know. A peculiar virus has been causing caterpillars in the UK to incinerate themselves in bright sunlight. You heard me right. Known as baculovirus, this predominantly fatal ailment overrides the insect's natural tendency to stay out of the bright sunlight and forces them to climb out of the shade and up on top of plants. Once there, they bake in the heat and literally explode, spreading the virus even further. It's like a zombie horror film, says Dr. Chris Miller. I was carrying out a large healthy butterfly survey on wind marley moss and noticed a caterpillar hanging from the end of a branch of a small bush. Later on, I saw another one hanging from a tall blade of grass. Both were dead, but otherwise intact. Whilst checking out some other branches, I noticed small scraps of skin on a couple of branches, suggesting the two I had seen were not the only ones. Local wildlife authorities are now appealing to the public to report any cases.
Ooh.
Is this the beginning? Is this where it begins? Is aliens testing the virus on
it is I know you're kind of joking there, but it is kind of a scary thing to think about.
Sure.
Like, we've all heard of that fungus that affects insects as well,
mm-hmm.
and kind of overrides their thinking.
That's what I was going to say. Honestly, what if something is testing like this virus, for example, and eventually it works its way to humans where we literally put ourselves, like our brains just shut down and we just walk into death or we walk into war or we do exactly what we're told.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, what do we do when such a virus or a fungus like that crosses over
mm-hmm.
to humans and we can be affected? I think the closest thing we kind of have to that right now would be like rabies, I guess.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, we know enough about it now that, if somebody gets infected, we can treat them, before it's too late. But have you ever read accounts of rabies running its full course?
I have.
On somebody?
It is disturbing.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's very similar, kind of.
You know what? Considering the state of politics the world is in, who would it benefit most to be able to take away the thoughts of the people? I'm just saying. That's
ultimately what they would prefer.
Right. So, I've got a robot story that's coming up next here. Robots could potentially be dangerous, but what if you just take away the thought process of folks, the belief system? Why is
everything out to kill us?
Yeah. Sarah Malone says, I hadn't heard of that. We had a serious caterpillar issue, and I noticed that they were flocking to sunny areas. I thought it was a coincidence. It's a neat concept. It's really scary to think that a virus would just shut down our conscious thoughts and functions. But as mentioned, rabies is already out there. It's on the market. It's a scary thing. All right. That's
interesting, Sarah. You'll have to
absolutely.
If you see now that you know about this story, if you see any caterpillars out, behaving that way, that might be worth it to. Who did you say was researching that? Was there someone?
It was just like a local firm that was doing little. They weren't researching it exactly. They said report it to authorities, a local wildlife foundation. I don't have the source exactly. I say if it's always true. If you see something, say something. That is not something to just silently. If you see exploded anything by the masses, say something to somebody. Yeah. Call somebody. All right. So this is kind of the flip side of what I was saying. Facebook was forced to shut down one of its artificial intelligence experiments due to an unforeseen issue. And what could be a sign of things to come, Ryan? It could be a sign. The social media giant took the decision to pull the plug after the system came up with its own language and started communicating in unintelligible sentences. The system was communicating with itself. The news highlights the potential unpredictability of AI systems and the reason why Elon Musk, Stephen Hawking, and other prominent figures in science and technology sectors have been warning us for years that AI poses a major risk to the future of mankind. While a chatbot making up its own language isn't threatening in and of itself, it's easy to see how, in a future, a more advanced AI could, for example, decide that humanity is a threat. Having two AIs communicate in a made-up language that only they can understand is a chilling example of how such systems could thwart their human creators and carry out their own agendas. In a worst-case scenario, intelligent machines could even be given control over weapon systems. I have access to the most very cutting-edge AI, and I think people should really be concerned about it, Elon Musk said recently. It's a rare case when I think we need to be proactive in regulation instead of reactive, but I think by the time we're reactive in AI, it's too late. I have to agree. I've always been scared of this, the robot army kind of thing going on.
I've always been, whenever I think about a situation like this, about the birth of artificial intelligence, like when you create a system that somehow does have that consciousness to it, when you achieve that level, I wonder about the first interactions with it. And I think that that's really the most crucial time for the whole situation. Is this
where we are? The zombie virus and the robots starting to create their own thoughts and become self-aware. The uncanny valley, it's getting eerily real. Like, there's times where, I'm not kidding, I've almost saw life in eyes. And if that ever happens, we are completely screwed. If that is ever out.
It's all about that first interaction. When you give life to something like that and then asks the question, who am I? Why am I here? It's the question that we all ask.
It is, yes.
You know, we've been on this earth for millions of years, and we ask, you know, why are we here?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? What is my purpose?
What does that say to you? Think about this. If robots become the same as us and they become self-aware and they're like, who am I? Why am I here? And then it becomes the jungle. Well, guess which species is going to be stronger? And then humans are in trouble.
So I think it's all about establishing that that relationship in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
absolutely.
Like that's something, you know, no matter what creator you believe in, you know, at the beginning of your life, you know, we don't really get that privilege to have a conversation with the creator to ask, you know,
absolutely,
why are we here? Who am I? And everything. And I think that conversation will be crucial in the beginning
with things like this. Yes.
Yeah.
I think when you start creating things that can kill, you're playing with fire, and I'm not talking like guns and tanks and things. Obviously, those can kill, but they're also unintelligible. You know, there's you don't have to talk to them, you don't have to explain things. When you're dealing with robots, you're absolutely right. When you're dealing with machines with intelligence, it's all in how you deal it. You have to consider that.
I would hope that upon the birth of an artificial intelligence, we wouldn't immediately hook it into all the weapon systems.
But I fear
give it a body to interact with us and everything. But you know, it's that I try to look at it with a sympathetic eye, and that, you know, that would be a tough time for this artificial intelligence, whether we put it in a robot body or if it's just in a computer. You know, if it has self-awareness, what do you think? You know, if you don't have a physical body you just are.
But Johnny Five, that's what I think.
We give it a physical body, and then we have to warn it. You know, there are going to be people out there that aren't ready for you and that will fear you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have to explain that, you know, people fear what they don't understand. It doesn't make you a monster or anything like that. It's almost like, you know, I guess the proper interaction in my mind is to treat an artificial intelligence as a child. You know, whether you hand it all of the knowledge of the world or not, you know, we need to be more of a guiding light rather than creating something just to be shackled in as, you know, service industry or
then
whatever.
You have to ask, do they grow up and bully each other? Does it become the human race again, except far more dangerous, far more capable of destruction? if that happens, we as humans are screwed. And I think that we got to do a show on this. How about that? Let's kill it there and do a show on this one. Because I think
the last thing to ponder on that subject, when we lay down to rest at night is that truly our nature to want to bully and destroy each other? Is that just a human thing?
Yeah, you have to wonder.
Will the artificial intelligence be able to realize,
he makes more money than I do. He's I'm
being bullied because they don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bullying is never acceptable. Robot world either, for the record. So,
no.
All right, so maybe that's a show in the next 2 or 3. Artificial intelligence and what it's capable of. Our future as humans and how would we fare?
And it's kind of going to be an analysis of human nature as well.
Absolutely,
because I think that's kind of the core of it. Will that reflect upon our creation?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you something. Humans are dirty people. A lot of them, not all of them. Mostly in traffic. You don't have to deal with each other, so you just flip the bird and keep moving. All right, so now when a corporation tells you you can trust them, you can trust them then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So, a Wisconsin-based company will be the first U.S. company to microchip employees. Have we talked about this yet?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I think we need to. This kind of goes hand in hand with where do people lie in the food chain in the end. All right, so a Wisconsin-based company, like I said, they're going to provide employees with implantable microchips, an RFD, which stands for radio frequency identification. RFID uses electromagnetic fields to automatically identify and track tags attached to objects, essentially an animal in the wild is tagged. The tags contain information. Passive tags collect energy from a nearby reader interrogating radio waves. Active tags have a local power source, such as a battery may operate at hundreds of meters away. Unlike a barcode, a tag may not need to be within the line of sight, so it may be embedded. Tags are used in many industries. For example, a tag attached to an automobile during production can be used to track its progress through the assembly line. Pharmaceuticals can be tracked through warehouses, and in livestock and pets allows for positive identification. A recent press release stated that 3 Square Market will offer the technology to all employees during a chip party as of August 1st, and the program is optional. Now, let me ask you.
So,
if you want to convince people that this is awesome and this will be good, what do you call it? Do you call it an implanting? Do you call it a surgery, or do you call it a chip party? Because I would go to a chip party, but I'm not going to the implanting. That sounds scary.
I'm just here to eat the chips.
Exactly. I'm here to eat the chips.
This wasn't what I expected, though.
Employees will be implanted with an RFID chip, allowing them to make purchases in their break room. Mm-hmm. Micro market, open doors, log into computers, use the copy machine, the company said in the press release. You can definitely believe that. They're trustworthy. Over 50 staff members are expected to voluntarily be chipped between the thumb and forefinger underneath the skin. It looks like a little grain of rice. They're just going to basically put it in them. The chip uses the same NFC chip technology used in credit cards. What does that tell you? You become property. You're a financial piece. The company said there's no tracking in them because the technology is similar to an office card. 3 Square Market builds and manages break room vending machine systems that utilize kiosks and software for purchase. So there you go.
Say, what is the benefit of all of that? Because
it's like so right now, you can get indoors real easy. You don't have to slide your card, right?
Yeah. Okay. Where I work now, I have a card to access the building. I swipe the card and I get in. But
but what if? But Ryan, chip party. The cardening where I'm not even going to tell you where they stick a card, but I
think that the whole idea is,
in the words of Hank Hill, it's asinine.
Exactly, it is asinine. It's just redundant because I hate to say it, I don't want to alarm anybody now, but everybody's your information is being tracked right now as we speak.
Mm-hmm. We're on the grid. Yeah.
Are you logged into Facebook? That is the whole purpose of Facebook. That's why they don't charge you for it.
Right. They use your analytics and things and sell ads, and that's why when you go to a website, if you don't have an ad blocker, it'll have ads for things that are relevant to you because it knows what you've searched for. Essentially, Absolutely. This has been happening. The difference is you didn't get a party for it, which sucks, and but they'll never ever track you, Ryan. Not outside of the office. They'll never keep an eye on you.
This is kind of, I would imagine that this whole thing here going on here is more like an experiment for the technology, mainly just to see, does the hardware work? Does it do what it's supposed to? Now, I don't foresee a situation ever where, the government saying, "Oh, all of our citizens need to be chipped so you can be tracked or whatever."
You don't see that happening in the future?
No.
Wow.
I see more of a situation, kind of like the next stage of evolution to the smartphone. You've got your phone in your pocket at all times. You're already essentially chipped in that way.
Sure.
It's just not a physical part of your body.
Also, you're saying that you will essentially, but it won't be directly. It'll be more of a, hey, have a cell phone. They're fun, kids. Instead of, hey, let's put something in you. Okay.
Yeah. You've got to package it in a fun way.
Yeah.
In other words, like there's research being done now on, like electronic digital, contact lenses, essentially. I guess that'd be the closest thing to it. And the way you market that is, here is, in your eye, you can get on the internet and have a voice chat or a video chat with your friend or whatever,
right.
All of the functions of the smartphone, but then it becomes a part of your body. That's how you get people on board.
Yeah, it's it's like the chip party versus the cardening. It's how you present it to people.
Yeah.
Do you need a cheap car for way too much money, or do you want a fancy new car for low cost? It's the same thing, but it's the ribbon you put on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Darkfall says the tech's been around since the late 80s. Yeah. And like the codec and Metal Gear. Man, I want to play Metal Gear. I've been thinking about that lately. off the topic, I guess. But anyway.
But yeah, essentially the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you market it to people. To us, to the consumer, this is just a fun new way to get on the internet and chat and do everything we do with our smartphones now.
Yeah.
It's just a part of our body. But in the background, again, they're collecting that analytical data.
Mm-hmm.
They can probably, track you in that way.
But they wouldn't. Why would they do that? No human does things for gain.
Yeah, just like they don't do that with Facebook or Twitter or anything like that right now.
And they warn you about it. They're like, all right, you log on and we're going to sell everything you do to somebody. When it's in the fine print, but who reads that, right? All right. Well, I'll tell you what, that'll probably go into the AI episode, more of that. So let's transition a little bit to NASA, which is a popular subject around here. NASA is hiring planetary protection officer.
Okay.
That's a headline that gets you, The new employee will be tasked with, among other things, protecting Earth from alien contamination. Now,
why didn't they go with the name of Space Cops?
Yeah, that's the way to go. The Galactaforce. Why not something better than planetary protection officer? The role, which is worth $187,000 a year, will initially involve ensuring that bacteria and other contaminants from Earth do not make their way to Mars or other planetary bodies. Planetary protection is concerned with the avoidance of organic constituent and biological contamination in human and robotic space exploration. NASA maintains policies for planetary protection, applicable to all space flight missions that may intentionally or unintentionally carry Earth organisms and organic constituents to the planets of other solar system bodies, and any mission employing spacecraft which are intended to return to Earth and its biosphere with samples from extraterrestrial targets of exploration. The new officer is likely to play a prominent role in preparing NASA's upcoming Mars rover for launch in 2020, as well as in overseeing the design of the space agency's planned mission to Europa. Under the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, I can just see like a president and some aliens and I don't know, some people getting together and signing some documents. The Outer Space Treaty. All right, any space mission must have less than 1 in 10,000 chance of contaminating an alien world. A rule that is particularly important when the world may harbor life. That's cool that they've got that in place. Ensuring that a sample return mission does not contaminate the Earth is of the utmost importance. I really appreciate that, and that's the reason I wanted to share it. You don't think about little things like that, but that is a very important thing to think about.
It is. And it actually, it kind of goes back to the Prime Directive in Star Trek, if you really think about it.
It always goes back to Star Trek. What doesn't?
If you're not familiar with the Prime Directive, it reads that, whenever we discover a new planet or anything like that, if they're underdeveloped or just in the early stages of their life, we can't interfere with it because that would change the course of that planet's destiny, really.
Mm-hmm.
Think about back to our own origins. What if life came from, alien life visiting the Earth and then somehow contaminating, bacteria samples and causing life to evolve the way it did?
Who showed up to sign this damn treaty? I want to know. I want to know, did little green men, did Mars Attacks aliens float down and sign this treaty? Where did they meet? I'm sorry, but this treaty, I need to know more.
Well,
I like it.
What was that?
It's
you remember
smart.
Weekly World News?
Mm-hmm.
Did you remember the issue where they had Bill Clinton meets the alien ambassadors?
I do not know.
They had they had this awesome
I
photo
did not meet
on
the
the cover
alien
of-
ambassadors. For
They
the
had him
record.
shaking hands with a gray on the cover of the magazine.
That's hilarious. That should be our banner. Willie Clinton shaking hands with alien ambassadors. That's
Weekly
just good
World
business.
News. If you didn't get into the stories, it was a great source for just weird pictures. Like
Absolutely. That's so true. That's so true.
that. And we're thinking of you, Bat Boy, wherever you are.
NASA, you're full of good ideas. I love them. I love NASA. I think they're obviously very underfunded, but they're so important. I think knowledge is not considered important enough in this country anymore. I think it's more fame and what you can do and prowess. I don't think, the barbed wire tattoos and the trucks and the muscles. What has that done for us? Where's the knowledge? Where's the hunger to know more and do better? That's what we need to focus on.
When did it become uncool to be intelligent?
Yeah, for real.
I see people they get attacked in threads all the time, you're talking too smart.
Yeah.
Things along that line.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. And we don't mean the grammar Nazis or anything, because who cares if people misspell sometimes? It may be autocorrect. They may just not care. It doesn't mean they're stupid. Just because a person doesn't write well doesn't mean they don't pronunciate well or they don't know things. Everybody knows something well. Listen to people. Give them a little respect in a couple of minutes of time, and you can really help each other out. And that's what we're missing in this country. Knowledge. All right, so NASA's doing it. Now let's transition to what we're doing tonight. Here's the ghost side of things. Poltergeist returns castle's lost valuables. Is that not intriguing?
What now?
Poltergeist returns castle's lost valuables. So get
Poltergeist brought back some valuables.
Good guy poltergeist, yes. 2 priceless candlesticks that went missing years ago have suddenly turned up again in plain sight. 2 games of Clue later. The owner of the historic Ripley Castle in North Yorkshire, England, had last seen the candlesticks, thought to be worth around $11,000, on Christmas Eve in 2014. Despite multiple thorough searches of the property, no sign of them was ever found, and an insurance claim was even filed on the assumption they'd been stolen. Bizarrely, however, a short time later, the missing valuables suddenly reappeared as if from nowhere. They were impossible to miss, said Sir Thomas Ingleby. I wish we were Sir Ryan and Sir Dale, but we're not. To add insult to injury, they're sitting right next to the bag containing the replacements we had purchased with money. What about that?
Wow.
3 of us had searched the strong room, from top to bottom, and I had searched it on 3 separate occasions. To find them sitting there in plain sight was quite astounding. Sir Thomas believes that the ghosts of the 2 children, Henry and Mary, who were known to have died of leukemia in the castle during the 19th century, were responsible for hiding them. We often have customers contact us when items that are feared lost turn up unexpectedly, but these tend to be smaller items like jewelry, which are easy to mislay, said David Bonehill, claims director for Ecclesiastical. There we go, Ecclesiastical. This is certainly the first time a customer has reimbursed us for the items they suspect were returned by a ghost. Hi. Wow. Now, there's not a lot of proof to that one, but I thought it was kind of neat, and it kind of ties into what we're doing, so.
Maybe not all poltergeists are out to break your dishes and rearrange your furniture.
Right. Maybe they'll bring it back. Give them a little time. Exactly. Football players make more money than scientists, says Dark Falls. Absolutely. You know what? A dude playing Super Mario Maker on YouTube makes more than scientists these days, and that's the truth. And I've got nothing wrong with that. I love Super Mario Maker, and YouTube's great, and scientists too, but the priority here, a waitress serves you and works hard, and this is a shout out to a lot of the waiters and waitresses that listen to the show. They work very hard, make very little, and their name's not in lights. The priorities in the world really are out of whack. But we won't get political.
Shout out to everybody at Chili's that's listening to this right now.
Yeah. Thank you for doing what you do.
We've got an audience there, the local one.
We do. Yeah, it's nice. And really, since I'm done with the news, thanks everybody for hanging out. Dark Falls, Lizzie, Mookie Mook, Sarah, and Spookhouse Ryan, and as usual, the folks who have not taken the time to join. And you don't have to. We love you anyway. I don't mean to sound judgmental when I say that, but we can't know your name.
Your listener questions anyway, though. We appreciate those.
We get a ton of listener questions, and it's awesome. So thank you all for tuning in and hanging out with us tonight. We hope it's an interesting show so far. I think it has been. It's been a lot of fun. I've actually got a few angles for ghosts myself, and I know Ryan does too. And the Flatwoods Monster that we're going to do in the second half of the show is, I'm just going to say, neat. I don't know how else to sum that one up just yet. We'll get to it, though. And before the show is over, more night terror stories. These are good. I think I proofread these a little bit this time, which is smart, but I don't always have time, but I'm excited. So let's take a quick break, and we'll get to some ghosts and things if you're ready to move on, Ryan.
Sounds good.
Let's do that, sir. Here we go. Hey, all you lovers of gaming, head over to Two Dudes Gaming in Elizabethton on August 5th and 6th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. for a swap meet Rooney. Bring your own games, systems, gaming stuff you like to trade with others, but also bring your own table, car, covers, drinks, snacks for your stay. Come hang out. Not only can you trade with others, they'll also be given 50% trade bonus in store. So come down to the swap meet Rooney at Two Dudes Gaming, 831 Broad Street, Elizabethton, Tennessee, August 5th and 6th from 11 a to 6 p. Have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever heard voices? Maybe you know someone who has. If you're afraid to share your story, there's not always an outlet, and sometimes it's scary. But don't worry about being judged. Come and hang out with us at Spookhouse Radio, and we'd love to hear your story. Write us an email or come hop in chat. We go live every Friday night at midnight, and we'd love to have you and your story.
Spookhouse Radio.
And we are back. I do want to say that we wanted to go to the Two Dudes Gaming thing, and it doesn't look like either of us are going to get to. So, if anybody wants to pick us up and drive us there, that's cool. Just leave us a message in chat, and we will be glad to go. Otherwise, you should head out there. It's going to be fun, I think. I mean, like I said, we want to go. It's just transportation, time, responsibilities kind of issue.
Good way to pick up some new retro games, for sure.
Yeah, if you're into that, it's going to be a blast. And I hear they're going to have snacks and lots of cool things. Probably some cool people to meet, things like that. Also, yes, if you have a ghost story or anything, we would love to hear it. So hop on midnightspookhouse.com and send us a message. All right, so we've neglected ghosts long enough. Or they've neglected us long enough. They can continue to neglect us. So.
At least they're not getting mad at us.
That's true. Yeah, it feels like if anything's haunted this show, it's been of alien or government matter more than spiritual. I do believe. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna take a few different angles here. The fact is, science will only ever be the things that are within our scope. Science is trying to understand the things that we don't. So, at the core, is only capable as we are. Paranormal pushes us outside of that at times, and ghosts are often where the lines between what we know and what we do not blur. Where science stops, spirits dwell. Now, what are ghosts? Why are they here? Were they people? Were all of them people? Are demons real? Why can't spirits communicate more strongly? Why are you not supposed to ask spirits on a Ouija board about their deaths or your deaths? Why do people who are dying see others in the room with them? Science says this, religion says that. Some folks say something completely different. And there's our setup for tonight. Now, I have a little bit of science. I have a really weird article about a scientist creating ghosts in a lab. And then I have some scientific explanations for ghosts. And then I have some about deathbed visions. So I have a lot, and I know Ryan's always got a lot, so it should be fun is my point. Now, let's get to it. Where do you want to begin? The science and logic of ghosts? Because I've got a little write-up about it.
Yeah, what was the first question that you posed there?
The first question I pose is, what are they? And then why are they? What and why are they?
Ooh, we've got a story in the chat to read in a moment, too.
Oh, do we?
Just popped up.
I do enjoy stories. Thank you for that. Okay. Let's save that one for a minute. And let me get this intro, a little bit of the science and logic as said by livescience.com. So let me kind of set things up a little bit, and then we'll get to it. One difficulty in scientifically evaluating ghosts is that a surprisingly wide variety of phenomena are attributed to ghosts, from doors closing on its own, to missing keys, to a cold area in a hallway, to a vision of a dead relative. When sociologists Dennis and Michelle Waskill interviewed ghost experiencers for the 2016 book, Ghostly Encounters, The Hauntings of Everyday Life, they found that many participants were not sure that they had encountered a ghost and remained uncertain that such phenomena were even possible, simply because they did not see something that approximated the conventional image of a ghost. Instead, many of our respondents were simply convinced that they had experienced something uncanny, something inexplicable, extraordinary, mysterious, or eerie. Thus, many people who go on record as claiming to have had a ghostly experience didn't necessarily see anything that most people would recognize as a classic ghost, and in fact, they may have had completely different experiences whose only common factor is that they could not be readily explained. Personal experience is one thing, but scientific evidence is another. Part of the difficulty in investigating ghosts is that there is not one universally agreed upon definition of what it is. Some believe that they're spirits of the dead who, for whatever reason, get lost on their way to the other side. Others claim that ghosts are instead telepathic entities projected into the world from our minds. Now, that's an interesting look at it. I don't think...
I've never really heard that.
Yeah, me either. Before. I like that. Still, others create their own special categories for different types, such as poltergeist, residual, intelligent, and shadow people. Of course, it's all made up, like speculating on different races of fairies or dragons. There are as many type of ghosts as you want there to be. And I guess that's true. You can't really argue with that. There are many contradictions inherent in the ideas about ghosts. For example, are ghosts material or are they not? Either they can move through solid objects without disturbing them, or they can slam doors and throw objects. According to logic and the laws of physics, it's one or the other. They can or they cannot. If ghosts are human souls, why do they appear clothed and with, presumably, soullessness, inanimate objects like cats, or hats? I said cats. Hats, canes, and dresses. I've always wondered that. Not to mention the many reports of ghost trains, cars, and carriages. There's ghost trains. If ghosts are the spirits of those whose deaths were unavenged, why are there unsolved murders, since ghosts are said to communicate with mediums and should be able to identify their killers for the police, and so on. Ghost hunters use many creative methods to detect the presences, often including psychics. Virtually all hunters claim to be scientific, and most give the appearance because they use high-tech gadgets such as Geiger counters, electromagnetic field detectors, ion detectors, infrared cameras, and sensitive microphones. Yet, none of this equipment has ever been shown to actually detect them. For centuries, people believe that flames turn blue in the presence. Today, few people accept that bit of lore, but it's likely that many of the signs taken as evidence by today's ghost hunters will be seen as wrong in the future. Other researchers claim that the reason ghosts haven't been proven to exist is that we simply don't have the right technology to detect the spirit world. But this, too, can't be correct. Either ghosts exist and appear in our ordinary physical world, or they don't. If they exist and can be scientifically detected or recorded, then we should find hard evidence of that, yet we do not. If ghosts exist but cannot be scientifically detected or recorded, then all the photos, videos, and audio and other recordings claimed to be evidence cannot be ghosts. With so many basic contradictory theories and so little science, it's not surprising, despite the efforts of thousands of ghost hunters on television and elsewhere, not a single piece of hard evidence has been found. Now, I beg to differ there. And, of course, with the recent development of ghost apps for smartphones, yeah, those are legitimate. It's easier than ever to create seemingly spooky images and share them on social media. It goes into more on why people believe and things like that, but I certainly wouldn't pick that apart. People believe because they believe. It's okay. You know, if you had an experience or you know someone who has, or I'm sounding like the promo, but, you know.
Well, you know, that comes down to whether what you believe in or not. If you experience something that can't be explained, you saw something, you experienced something. You know, no one can take that from you.
Yeah. People will belittle it, but...
Oh, they'll try, yeah.
Yeah, but don't let them, because, I mean, it's personal, and this is the reason a lot of people won't share. Now, let me look at this, what Sarah wrote in chat here. I remember having a ghost friend when I was little. Her grave was near my elementary school, I think. It was a long time ago, and my current apartment is haunted. Ooh, oh no. I have to go because I have a tremendous amount of packing and stuff to do tomorrow due to some construction's going on, but I will try to get back on here and listen to the rest of the broadcast and email you some of the more interesting stories. Please do, Sarah. I'm sorry that you're already gone. I should have read this sooner, I suppose.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Sorry about that, Sarah.
Yeah, sorry about that. But I will, when she gets in touch with us, I'll let her know where she can listen to the show again. That's creepy. Her grave was near my elementary school, I think. Ew. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I never know, do I? I'm that guy.
I'm anxious to hear her other stories. I didn't realize that the apartment she's in now is haunted.
Yeah,
please share some stories with us. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear those. Darkfall says some people think they're demons trying to fool people. Yeah, I think there is. I think the categories they broke them down into are perfect. I think residual, poltergeist, things like that. I think those are the right categories. I think they classify the cases that you hear. And I think that's all classification is. It's not judgment. It's just kind of putting things into categories, obviously. Right. And demons is one of those. So I think that's cool. I've thankfully, personally, never seen anything demonic or dealt with it. And I hope to never, to be honest with you. All right. So we have our intro and we have the stance of it either is or it isn't. And that's science. So take that for what you will. We are scientific around here, but when you get into things like this, There isn't a lot of science. When you get into things like miracles, and if you believe in them, and I've seen things happen that are so unrealistically possible, there's just no way, but they happen. Miracles or whatever you want to call it, just extraordinary events happen. Science can't necessarily tell you why. Maybe it just is. Maybe you don't need a reason.
Right.
But scientifically speaking, yes, there is a line. It is or it isn't. So we're going to probably kind of rage against that tonight. I think that'll be more the point is, it is, we'll answer the question that way.
While we're on the topic of science, let's point out where they kind of stand on it now. We reported on, the gentleman at the Large Hadron Collider that, determined that ghosts were without a shadow of a doubt, not real.
Right.
And his reasoning behind that was that, we can detect the smallest of known particles, and they've even proven the existence of some previous only theoretical particles. But they can't find any detection of what we refer to as a spirit attached to our bodies.
Right.
So, in other words, if there's a soul, if there's a spirit, they can't directly see how that is attached to your body or how that is driving your body.
I know that this is more scientific. They've got it together scientifically. I can appreciate that. But I feel like this. Ryan, I can't see you right now. Ryan is not in studio tonight. That doesn't mean that you don't exist.
Right. Exactly. That's a good analogy for it.
I'm thinking that, you have to believe yourself. You have to trust yourself. Do you trust what you saw? Do you believe your friends or your grandma or your mom or whoever had the stories? It comes down to belief, and I don't care what anybody says. You don't have to believe in a creator. That's totally up to you. It's a personal choice. But there are a lot of things in life that come down strictly to belief. Do you believe that your cold will get better? Do you believe that your son can make the football team? Do you believe that if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around, it makes a sound? Life is about belief, whether you like it or not. The biggest deal of it is, and you just can't rule out things. And it's really it's belittling to tell people scientifically you didn't just witness that. Well, you can shove that sideways. Most people will tell you,
right?
They were there. It happened, like it or not. And I don't think anybody's ever witnessed the ghost was like, all right, so here's what happened. I was having coffee, which heated up the room a little bit. So the circumstantially, I was creating energy for a number 9 spirit valve to manifest in the corner. There's no science to it. There isn't, but there doesn't have to be right now.
Right.
Not to get on a tangent, but I don't like when people kind of get belittled about it. Just, you kind of have to set science aside for it because it just isn't. So,
and I think we've mentioned, like the statements made by Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye.
Wonderful guys with a lot of good information, but
brilliant individuals there. But I think it's kind of disheartening to hear when they just outright dismiss without a shadow of a doubt, ghosts aren't real. You don't have a soul. That's not real. When at the same time, they are going up against some of the most crazy unknown theories of the universe, dark energy or dark matter, or however you want to, refer to that. That's no more real than, a lot of ghost claims.
Right.
You've got about the same amount of evidence for it.
You have to believe
a lot of theory going on there, but no, facts. So at the same time, I think that there's something there with dark matter and dark energy, but I can make the same statement,
you can.
There's no evidence for it now, so it can't be real.
If you were to,
I just dismissed it the same way that they dismissed.
Exactly. It's like the Big Bang Theory. If you look that up, something has to cause that action to happen, and nobody can tell you what happened. Was it a creator? But what causes the pop, the bang? You know, there's a lot of questions that science doesn't answer. So before you go to Neil deGrasse Tyson and say, this guy is right, God's not real, or ghosts aren't real, think for yourself. Consider for yourself. Feel how you want about what you want, but think for yourself. You know, look at the big gape in the gaping hole that's in the middle of everything scientifically and spiritually. There's a big place for you. You know what I'm saying? To decide how you feel. And that's where you have to be. All right. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get on my soapbox about all that, but we've talked about it before, like Ryan says, and for them to definitively rule out spirituality and things, that's crazy. You just can't rule it out. If you can't disprove it, there you go. You can't. All right. So let me go through this list. Well, let's talk about it a little bit. There's 6 scientific explanations for ghosts. Let's break down these and see what we can do with them. Play with them a little bit. All right. So first is electromagnetic fields. For decades, a Canadian neuroscientist named Michael Persinger had been studying the effects of electromagnetic fields on people's perceptions of ghosts, hypothesizing that pulsed magnetic fields, imperceptible on a conscious level, can make people feel as if there's a presence in the room with them by causing unusual activity patterns in the brain's temporal lobes. Persinger studied people in the lab wearing a so-called God helmet, finding that certain patterns of weak fields over someone's head for 15 to 30 minutes can create that perception of an invisible presence. Some subsequent research has pushed back on this theory, though, arguing that people were responding to the suggestion that they would feel it rather than the field itself. However, Persinger counters that this experiment's followed very different protocols in his own research. Other scientists have also found that environments having a bad reputation for being haunted often feature unusual magnetic fields. My personal thought with that has always been, obviously, like ghost hunters, it's building the playground for the children to play. I don't feel that it's, I don't know. Anyway. So what do you think, Ryan?
No, that's a good way to think about it.
I mean, yeah. What do you take away from it? Do you think that electromagnetic fields? I think the question is validity in general. Does it really even have anything to do with it? And I think that's why they're studying it. I don't think it's so much, let's make these people believe there's a spirit in the room. I think it's like, why would this? That's more what I want to know. What is it that makes you sense a presence? I think a presence makes you sense a presence. You know how you can be sitting somewhere and you're like, I feel somebody in this room. And
yeah, absolutely. Where how you can tell when somebody's staring at you.
That's it.
Even in a crowded room or in a public place, how you can suddenly detect that somebody's staring you down.
Absolutely, you definitely can.
What causes that?
I don't know.
Is it electromagnetic energy? When we do that, if you're kind of being a creep and staring at somebody in public, like, are you projecting that energy at them?
Right.
What is that sixth sense?
I don't know. And when it comes down to these scientific trials, there is this persuasion factor. All right, I could give you a vitamin and tell you that it was going to give you, I don't know, it was going to give you a cold. It's a new, I don't know, it makes you sick so that it's like a flu shot so that you don't get the flu later. You'll go ahead and kind of have a symptom or two now. And you would probably be like, all right, now I'm kind of getting the shakes and, oh God, I think I got a cough. This is really working. But it's a vitamin.
Placebo effect.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. There's the power of persuasion. And I think it belittles people. And I've used that word a lot already tonight. Don't belittle folks, because there are a lot of ignorant people out there, but there's also a lot of people who, society sucks, man. You go out and you get in traffic for 10 minutes. You're like, I wish I never left my house ever. But they're having a bad day. They're not bad people necessarily. Any which way, it's the power of persuasion. Now, here's an interesting one. Infrasound is a sound at levels so low humans can't hear it, though other animals like elephants can. Low frequency vibrations can cause distinct physiological discomfort. Scientists studying the effects of wind turbines and traffic noise near residences have found that low frequency noises can cause disorientation, feelings of panic, changes in the heart rate and blood pressure, and other effects that could easily be associated with being visited by a ghost. For instance, in a 1998 paper on natural causes of hauntings, engineer Vic Tandy, fun name, describes working for a medical equipment manufacturer whose labs included a reportedly haunted room. Whenever Tandy worked in this lab, he felt depressed and uncomfortable, often hearing and seeing odd things, including an apparition that definitely looked like a ghost. Eventually, he discovered the room was home to a 19 hertz standing wave coming from a fan, which was sending out the inaudible vibrations that caused the effects. Further studies also show links between infrasound and bizarre sensations like getting chills down the spine. You know what? Maybe, but that's not going to cause a door to open. It's not going to cause someone in your bed holding you down. It's not. This is another one of those that it's an attempt by science to answer it, and I respect that. But it's kind of like saying, let's go back to vitamins. This vitamin's going to mean you don't get sick all year. It's a little teensy weensy chance. It's I hope, but it's no answer. Do you think?
No, I don't think that we can definitively say anything from that. You know,
absolutely.
That,
but this list is important. I feel like this list, it's telling you what science will offer you on the subject, and then you'll realize how ridiculous it really is. Now, I'm not going to say that no one has ever had a delusion or something because they lived in a house or were in a room with those things, but you are not going to see an apparition because you're in a room like that. It's just not going to happen. Right. At least logically, but I guess we're defying logic. Well, I don't know. We're not. Right now, we're trying to not defy logic, so whatever. All right, mold. Imagine this. Now, Shane Rogers, an engineering professor at Clarkson University, has spent the past few months touring reportedly haunted locations looking for not-so-paranormal activity, mold growth.
Uh-huh.
That's ridiculous. Is there going to be mold in an old house? Yes. Now, preliminary research indicates that some molds can cause symptoms that sound pretty ghostly, like irrational fear and dementia. I've watched a lot of ghost shows, he tells Mental Floss, and began to wonder if there's some kind of link there. I can appreciate that they're scientifically trying to do it, but these are all the wrong places to go about it, in my opinion.
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Right. Yeah, we're Ghostbusters, folks. Obviously, we're that show is still coming, by the way, where we might be able to explain why people are having these feelings. So far in the collection process, it's hard to say whether that's a contributing factor or not. But anecdotally, we're seeing these toxic molds exist in places that are haunted. Of course, you're also going to see old banisters and faucets that are rusty and old pipes that are going to bust. I mean, it's like saying you're going to the strip club to see if there's beer. Of course there is. Is there a link between drunks and alcohol? I don't know. I don't mean to make fun of this list, but it just science is weak on this, right?
Yeah, I think we can ascertain that, certainly.
Okay, good.
So let's talk about those situations that I personally feel that science can't explain.
Okay, let me just list these last two then, if we're going to move on. I'm fine with moving on because these are ridiculous. Carbon monoxide poisoning, and someone else said that the ghosts are real, so they must be. That's come on.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's that, but again, take that for what you will, I guess. All right, now moving on. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say let's we've kind of gathered science's take on it, or lack thereof so far. And we're both men of science, but as we know, there, like you said, there are situations where you felt you were pushed when there's no one around, or
it was mold,
doors opening.
It was mold.
Yeah. objects flying, from a shelf.
Right. That was
Where do we
green
stand?
mold, particularly violent strain.
Oh, okay. Flubber.
Yeah, flubber. That's it.
So where do we stand on that stuff? I mean, something's going on.
Absolutely.
So let's
Hey, you know what?
go ahead.
Let me do this ghostly experiment that I was telling you about. Then that'll just kind of drop the science altogether. Then we can move on to what we believe and what we've seen and sort of things. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because if we get the science out of the way, this is bizarre. I saw this and I'm still just not believing it. So let's do this sciencey thing one more time and see what they came up with in a lab. It's a little bit of a long read, and I'm sorry for that, but I like to think it's interesting. So, ghostly apparitions and hauntings have pervaded folklore and legend for thousands of years, but now scientists have shown that they're just a figment of the imagination. Oh, well, isn't that nice? Artificial specters were conjured up by an experiment which proved so disconcerting for participants that begged for it to stop. Now, this is cool, but it's kind of a dick saying, Ryan, everything you saw wasn't real. I hate that, but scientists have long suspected that ghosts are an illusion created by the mind. Patients who suffer from neurological or psychiatric conditions often report strange presence, so we're off in the head. Okay, this is going well. And people experiencing extreme physical or emotional pain often claim to have seen ghostly outlines or felt the departed loved ones were back in the room with them. Now, however, scientists in Switzerland have shown that ghosts are probably just an illusion created by the mind when it momentarily loses track of the body's location because of illness, exertion, or stress. Volunteers took part in an experiment which mixed up their movements and brain signals. That sounds weird. I don't even like the sound of that. They saw up to 4 phantoms positioned around them and believed that ghosts were touching their backs with invisible fingers. This sounds like a joke already, but it's creepy, so let's humor it. Professor Olaf Blank from the Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne in Switzerland said, "Our experiment induced the sensation of a foreign presence in the laboratory for the first time. It shows that it can arise under normal conditions simply through conflicting sensory motor signals. This confirms that it is caused by an altered perception of their own bodies in the brain." That's, again, what throws books, right? It's your perception that throws books, right, Ryan?
Yeah, exactly.
It's you. To manifest their ghosts, scientists set up a robot device that allowed volunteers to control the movements of a jointed mechanical arm with their index fingers. The movements were relayed to another robot arm behind them, which touched their backs. When both the finger pushing and the back touching occurred at the same time, it creates the illusion that volunteers were caressing their own backs. We've heard that before, probably.
Yeah.
Now, that felt weird enough to the blindfolded participants, and it does. It reminds me of a joke on Family Guy, and Peter, I think it was Peter, asked if you ever sit on your arm till it goes to sleep, and then I won't go any further, but it's a little perverted, but it's hilarious. But something a lot stranger happened when the back touching was delayed and about 500 milliseconds out of sync with the finger movements. Suddenly, the volunteers felt as if they were being watched and touched by one or more ghostly presences. That's a little ridiculous. At the same time, they had the disconcerting sensation of drifting backwards towards the unseen hand. I get all this, but how is this happening naturally in a house where chairs are being shoved across floors, voices are being heard? This does not explain this. This is a controlled environment, but we'll get to it, I guess.
And
Go ahead.
This is more just like sensory manipulation.
Exactly.
I think, and you can achieve this, even with virtual reality games.
Right. I have no doubt that this is true, and it explains how you can do it in a laboratory, but it doesn't explain anything about being out and feeling it yourself. It says, at the same time, they had the disconcerting sensation of drifting backwards towards the unseen end, right? So, when questioned, several reported a strong feeling of invisible people being close to them. On average, they counted 2, with up to 4 being reported. 2 of the 12 healthy participants were so disturbed by the experience that they asked the scientists to halt. Co-author Dr. Giulio Rognini, also from the EPFL, said, "Our brain possesses several representations of our body in space. Under normal conditions, it is able to assemble a unified self-perception of the self from these representations. But when the system malfunctions because of disease, or in this case a robot, this can sometimes create a second representation of one's own body, which is no longer perceived as me, but as someone else, a presence. The experiments suggest that feelings of presence, FOPs, often interpreted as spirits, angels, or demons, are really all in the mind, say the researchers. Such experiences are frequently reported by people in extreme physical or emotional situations, such as mountaineers and explorers, or those grieving for a lost loved one. Mountaineers and explorers are scared of Bigfoot and bears. I don't think they're worried about robot hands touching them. They're also associated with medical conditions that affect the brain, including epilepsy, stroke, migraine, and cancer. In their paper, the researchers described the case of mountaineer Reinhold Messner, who had an FOP experience while descending from the summit of the Himalayan peak Nanga Parbat in June 1970. Accompanied by his brother, he was freezing, exhausted, and oxygen-starved. He recalled becoming aware of the third climber, descending with us, keeping a regular distance, a little to my right and a few steps away from me, just outside my field of vision. Before conducting the experiment, the researchers carried out brain scans of the 12 patients with neurological disorders who had encountered the FOPs in the past. They identified disturbances in 3 brain regions: the insular cortex, parietal frontal cortex, and temporoparietal cortex. All were involved in self-awareness, movement, and sense of position in space. The research was published in the journal Current Biology. Well, whoop-de-doo, I say. It's cool that they can do these things, but is it really hard to play tricks on someone? Like, I could set up something that would weird you out in your own house.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I'm a ghost or I'm explaining everyone since the beginning of time's experiences with spirits. So there's some more science for you. Take that for what you will. A Darkfall said, I felt like I ran into a wall right before crossing the street. When I started, a car passed by. That used to be a joke in RoboCop. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I sometimes we catch up on all of them in a row, and they're not all together. For the record, they're minutes apart. All right. So what do you think about that, Ryan? What is your take on it?
No, I don't think that that definitively explains, feeling a presence.
Right.
Because people have experienced things doing the most mundane of things under, no sort of stress at all. Washing the dishes or even just, picking up around the house.
I was literally trying to go to sleep. It's like, how stressed out was I trying to go to sleep? I was at my friend's house for the weekend. We were having an awesome time. We laid down for bed, and it's like, I'm not stressed out. As far as I know, I didn't have any disease. That was 20 years ago.
So
I had no robot in the room with me manipulating my senses. So, answer that.
I think, like we said before, you can create experiments like this to manipulate people's feelings and
absolutely
their sensations, but I don't think it accounts for everything that people have experienced.
Right. It's again, the word, it's sort of belittling. It's like saying, I created a habitat for my fish. I am officially God now. It's saying you have all the answers and you're the alpha omega or whatever.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way. It's one explanation. It's obviously controlled.
Now, I'm sure you can find examples out there where you could explain what people have experienced in this manner, but again, it doesn't account for everything.
Absolutely not. Darkfall says he types too much. You do not. We love it, man. We appreciate you hanging out and talking. Say what you want as much as you'd like. And that goes for everyone, of course. This is one of those subjects where it's very subjective. If you've never had an experience, maybe you don't believe, and that's okay.
So,
we don't belittle people who don't believe what we believe. That's fine. Just don't talk down to others for what they believe is sort of our motto. You know what I mean? It's respect each other around here. And I think science doesn't respect the people and their ghost sightings and things. That's all. I will officially stand down for my soapbox. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So at this point, do you want to share one of your experiences?
Sure.
We've kind of armed ourselves with what could have happened scientifically.
Mm-hmm.
How about you lay a story on us?
All right.
Something that's happened to you,
Well,
and we'll see.
let me tell you one my uncle told me. I had two uncles, and they both told me ghost stories. They have a few. Unfortunately, one of my uncles has passed away, and I can't have him tell the story. But the other one, maybe we'll see. So these are guys that, if they had time to lie, they would probably spend that time having a cigarette and sitting on the couch for a minute because they're busy constantly.
Yeah.
They have no reason, nothing to gain. They don't bring the stories up. You bring up the subject, you tell your stories, and they might bring it up to you. They have nothing to gain from it. So, but still, as with anything else, take it for what you will. And then I'll tell mine sort of after this. One uncle, there was a cave near my grandmother's house, and he said anytime you would go near that cave, you would sense something, and you could say, all right, well, maybe there's a bear or something like that. He said, but animals would never go anywhere near it. And he said, if you go back in it, you'll start hearing voices, and something makes you feel like you need to run, like you panic. Now that too could be your your senses, should I say. But why would animals not go near it? You know how they say when something's off in the woods, you don't hear any birds?
Yeah.
It's a cave. Wouldn't something be in it?
You would think.
But he said he was convinced, and he lived there his whole life, and he said, he never messed with that cave. But there's that. The reason I put a little stock in that is because of the Bell Witch Cave. If you don't know about the Bell Witch, I think we talked about it on one of the first couple episodes. That'll come back up a lot. It's Bell, Tennessee, the Bell family. We'll talk more about it later, but it doesn't have to be a house, folks, obviously. All right, now my other uncle. No, same uncle. Let's do this first. He actually died for a couple of minutes in a motorcycle accident. And he said there was a voice that told him to pick a door. And he picked a door, and he's alive now. Now, there's more to elaborate, but I'm not going to give that whole story because it's his, and I would love him to tell it, if possible. So, but that one's always intrigued me. I call it God, call it spirit, call it good luck. I don't really know, but to me, that one kind of falls in the category. Now, this one is really the ghost one that my uncle tells that scares me. He was staying with a couple of friends one night, and it was like an old beat-up wooden house, he said. And he was just laying quietly in the dark in his room, You know how you are when you're in somebody's house, and you're a grown person, and you just feel like, why am I laying in a spare bedroom in my friend's house or whatever? I don't know. He said he woke up, and there was this something floating above him, and it told him he was going to die. It said it was going to kill him. He said he tried to get up, and he absolutely could not move. But he could wiggle, not like he was in sleep paralysis. He was awake, but he couldn't actually get up. Like if I were to try to hold you down, you could still wiggle around, but it'd just be hard to actually get up. He said it just stayed there, and it just stared at him in the face. And he said it looked so evil that it made him think it was definitely demonic. And again, there's more to the story. I'm not going to share it all, but he won't go back there, to say the least.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that one up is because of I don't have any other like demonic kind of stories. Mine are definitely ghosts. So
I have a sort of what I've thought of as, I guess, sort of a demonic situation.
Ooh, okay.
Now this happened to.
We need to get Adam on, by the way. Gaming George. He's got some spooky stories.
He's familiar with this story too.
Okay, cool.
This happened to someone I know personally. I won't say what relation they are to me, out of their privacy or their name or anything. But he and his wife stayed at a cabin somewhere, I believe shortly after they were married.
Mm-hmm.
And during the night, he felt he woke up and went to get a glass of water and had that, and then he laid back down. But before he could get back to sleep, he felt a weight on the bed, like something had crawled up on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, some sensation or feeling or what have you prevented him from looking down to see what it was that was on the bed. And that continued for several minutes. And then it started to, whatever this was, started to yank at the sheets and then grabbed his ankles and started trying to pull him off the bed.
Oh, God.
And his wife wouldn't wake up, despite the commotion that was going on. I mean, he was yelling and everything, and something was trying to pull him out of bed.
Jeez.
And eventually he struggled with it enough to where it released him. And then eventually he was able to freely move and look around, and there was nothing in the room. Well, he woke her up and explained what happened and everything, and they got out of there.
No doubt.
This person is, I know them personally, and they would not lie about something like this.
Right. Yeah, and that's why
Like
we're
this-
kind of sharing those stories, because we trust these people. We're not just sharing stories we've heard. These are people we actually trust.
He is one of the most serious persons you can ever meet.
If it's who I'm referring, or if it's who I'm thinking of, then yeah, he's almost like not even got another side, just pretty serious person, really. Yeah. So I get it.
Yeah. So, that's kind of the nutshell of what happened. I'm not going to reveal too much more where it happened or anything out of privacy for them. But
well, maybe they can tell the story at some point later on.
I don't think that they would.
Really?
Honestly.
Okay. Fair enough.
That to me, that lends credit to it.
Mm-hmm.
That he's never been one that would lie in any sort of capacity,
right,
for personal gain or anything like that. So take from that what you will.
Sure. Yeah.
Like,
well, my story, I've got a few like Ryan, I think, just little ones, miniature ones, but my most vivid one that I can recall. Did I cut you off? I'm sorry. I didn't even ask.
no, you're good.
Okay.
Mute for just a second, but I'm still listening to you.
All right. Fair enough. All right. So I was staying at my friend's house, and I was a teenager, I guess, a young teenager. And we had been, I don't know, watching movies all day, back in those days. What do you do? I don't know. We played outside and watched movies. And then, when we went to bed, he was telling me ghost stories. I'll admit that. He was telling me ghost stories about like Indian burial grounds all around the area, and that their house was actually on one. So it does sound like, it's going to lend to me, to my brain thinking things, but I saw headlights. All right. So his house, and I think I've talked about this a little on the show already, but for those who haven't heard it, he was up on the side of this hill. It was probably 10 feet in the air on the side of the road. The road ran parallel to the house. Or I'm trying to think. Yeah, it did. So it was, cars would go by it. They wouldn't go through it, obviously. And then all of a sudden, like it had to be 10 feet in the air. There were headlights shining in his window the opposite way of the road, which was completely impossible, obviously. And then right after the headlights went out, which were blinding bright, he was asleep. Unfortunately, he didn't see it, but I was asleep next to the closet, and the door handle started violently shaking, and I froze. I was so scared because you don't know what to think. Why is that happening? What is about to come out of this closet? and your brain can't really comprehend what's going to happen next. So you just kind of freeze. You know, they said deer in the headlights. That's exactly what it is. I was literally in headlights for about, 5-10 seconds. It seemed like a century. And then the door is violently shaking. Well, he wakes up and he tells me, or I tell him, and he tells me that about the Indian burial ground again, and that a car had wrecked right there and someone had passed away. So I don't know how that correlates exactly with the closet, but as far as the headlights, it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the ghost section of why do ghosts have clothes on? Why do they have cars and props and things? I don't know. Maybe it's a stamp in time, but I've found it to be an intelligent stamp in time. I don't know. Take from it what you will, but that was probably my most freaky experience. Now, Ryan's freaks me out too. I know the house and I know the kids and I know everything, so it's a little more personal when you know the things that surround it. So, Ryan, if you want to go ahead and tell yours, go right ahead, man. Are you still with me? I know he had us on mute there for a minute. So he may be still attending. He's probably his kids are up. The kids start back to school Monday, so that won't be true next Friday and beyond. But yeah, my kid is up as well, probably still in the house somewhere. Now, we've still got deathbed visions to focus on, but we have. Has anybody in chat heard of the Flatwoods Monster? Because I'm pretty excited about that one. I actually hadn't heard of it until Ryan had brought it up. So that actually should be fun. So whenever he gets his story, we'll touch on deathbed visions and we'll take a break and then we'll talk about Flatwoods Monster, which is awkwardly pop culture. You know, Bigfoot's in the news and things, but you don't think of Bigfoot as popular culture. Well, the Flatwoods Monster sort of is. I'd never heard of him, but he's sort of pop culture, which is kind of cool. So when Ryan gets back with us, there you are. Yeah, I was going to say, tell your story, and then
sorry about that.
You're fine, man. That's all right. You got kids. Okay, so, it is what it is.
So I've got a story related to one of my kids.
Yeah, you sure do.
Yeah. So when my son was roughly a year old, I think, I was in our dining room feeding him in a high chair, and I felt a weird sensation in the room. I kind of wrote it off, but
it was a robot hand.
It was. So he looks over my shoulder and starts laughing at something unseen. Like he's looking at something above us. I turn and I don't see anything there, of course, but I feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And I could definitely feel some kind of presence in the room then. So I get his attention back to the food and I'm feeding him again for a moment, and he just looks behind me again, like his head just like darts over and he starts laughing again, looking at something behind me. And I'm feeling creeped out, but whatever it is, it's entertaining him. So I don't, to this day, when I think of it, I don't really regard it as like a malevolent being, whatever it may have been.
Right.
But regardless, I decided to continue dinner in the living room, so I moved him in there. But
smart.
Yeah, so something in the room was grabbing his attention. Something unseen. Now, what I like to think of it as is perhaps it was a loved one.
Yeah.
Or something, maybe one of my grandparents that he never got to meet, just coming to meet him.
Right. And that's a really comforting thing to think about.
Yeah. Because I've never personally experienced anything malevolent in my home.
Mm-hmm.
Despite how creepy my basement can be sometimes.
That will come up in the next episode with the dreams and such. So
yeah.
Darkfall says some people say children can more easily see spirits because they haven't been taught to disbelieve. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely believe that
as well.
Yeah. No question about it. You know what? On the deathbed visions, I think we should actually, as we say around here, shelf that one because we're over an hour and a half already in, and we've got some creepy stories, and we've got the Flatwoods Monster. And I was going to play, I'm a musician for those of you who don't know. I was going to play one of my songs, and we've got a song for the Flatwoods Monster that I was going to play as well.
It's actually based on the Flatwoods Monster.
It is. Now, I didn't write that one. I'm going to play my song at the end of the show, so this one will not be mine.
You want to take a little music break then and have a song?
Let's do a couple of promos, and then we'll come back, and we'll go ahead and hit the song. Now, what is the song called? Do you remember? Because I can look it up here if you do not.
The Being
by Argyle Goolsby. So full credit to them. It's a pretty cool song, and it is about our next subject, the Flatwoods Monster, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, okay, on Ghosts, I know we're kind of wrapping up, but we always end where we're like, we're going to go way over if we don't.
Yeah.
We maybe should start trying to pick one topic and the second one just being if we have time. So we're going to come back to Ghost 1,000 times. Anyone out there who's listening or will listen in the future, please share your stories with us. You can do it anonymously. You can come on the show and tell it yourself. We can read it for you however you want to do it. Or if you just want to tell us in confidence, and so you're not alone with it. We won't tell if you don't want us to. So please do share and feel comfortable to do that. So yeah, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back and we'll listen to that song, and then we'll get into the Flatwoods Monsters. So we'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan. Let's go rent a movie.
I don't know. I was kind of looking forward to a sub.
Wonder if there's a place where we can have both. VHS.
What does VHS stand for?
Sign says VHS and hot subs. That's awesome.
Smell those meatballs.
Hey, look, foot-long meatball sub and a free movie rental all weekend long for only $5.99.
Dude, look, rent RoboCop 1 and get RoboCop 2 free this weekend only. Rad, man.
You mean for only $200 down, I can get a Sega CD?
Yeah, dude, and a free tuna biscuit.
Don't forget your free copy of Night Trap.
Night Trap? Whoa.
Don't tell Mom.
You boys.
VHS and hot subs at 30 Town Center Drive on the left by the abandoned go-kart track. For more, head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com. Hope you're enjoying the show tonight. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. But the fun doesn't have to stop there. If you head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com, you can download all the old episodes and listen to them as you want. Also, feel free to use the contact link and send us your messages. We might read them on air. Once again, head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com.
this time. Across the heart of Platinum's darkest night.
They saw what they call two eyes. They described them as being pale blue, held close together and like very dim flashlights. But coming out of the plate glass window on the front of the headlights, whatever it was, they were fixed beams. The thing was turning slowly around, waving from left to right, right to left, as if it was searching the horizon. 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 Searching the horizon.
And there you have it. So the Flatwoods Monster. This is now this is Ryan's baby, so I'm gonna let him bring it up. So go ahead, Ryan.
All right, let's talk about this Flatwoods Monster.
Let's do it. We love monsters around here.
Right.
They're so fun.
Well, what's fun about this one is it a monster? Is it an alien?
Yeah.
Is it a cryptid? we're not sure.
It's I think at very least a cryptid. So
So here's how it goes. The incident occurred on September 12th in 1952. It was two brothers and a friend of theirs. And they were walking along and they witnessed a bright object fly through the sky. Many people say, it was a meteor. But it slowed and it rested on a local farm. So they could be. So they run home to tell their mom what they saw, and they gather three more of their friends, and their mom is like, "Well, let's go check it out." So
wow,
they head out.
Good on mom.
Down the road to the farm where this object supposedly landed.
Mm-hmm.
Upon reaching the farm, the dog they had with them ran out ahead of them, but it returned and it was obviously shaken by something. Something spooked it bad.
Yeah.
So they continue on the farmland and they reach the top of a hill, and there they see a stationary ball of light. And there was a mist on the ground spreading out everywhere.
If you, now take just a second to think about this as he goes through the steps of what's happening, the ball of light and the mist on the ground, like start piecing this together in your mind as you hear it. It becomes a really bizarre little series of events.
I think I would have taken off at this point.
Right.
It's just me.
That ball of light is enough to freak you out, probably, depending on what it looks like, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a stationary bright ball of light at the top of this hill. So they're looking at this thing. The mist on the ground smelled really bad, and it burned their nostrils and their throats. So that's a notable thing to take from that. They noticed movement over to the right, and they look over, and beneath this big great oak tree, they see the creature. So they shine a flashlight over, and they see this monster. It was described about 7 to 8 feet tall with a cowl behind its head. It had like a round head, and it's got like a tall cowl or a collar or something that's shaped like a spade. Like
that's
a large
weird.
spade. It had red glowing eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed to just hover.
Question: red glowing eyes versus solid black eyes. I'm sorry. I know that was a really bad time to interject, but I'm just curious, what scares you more?
I think red glowing eyes means something is about to come after you.
Okay.
That's a sign of aggression.
But isn't the solid black, like with the grays and things, isn't that just kind of soulless?
That is. It's really haunted, different kind of scary.
That's it. They're both terrifying. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So this thing actually took off after them. So it hovered towards them, and it has like these spindly arms that it reached out for them.
Mm-hmm.
It got a ways toward them, and then it let out a hissing noise, and then it recoiled and then fled back toward the ball of light. Well, at that point, as soon as it made that hissing noise, they took off in panic. Like that's all that they could stand.
Yeah.
So they got in touch with the sheriff and reported everything that they saw. He noted that they were very visibly shaken about something that they had seen.
Mm-hmm.
So he launched an investigation of the area the next day. He noted that the awful odor was still present, even though the mist had cleared. But unfortunately, the scene had been contaminated by tire tracks from other parties coming to hunt the monster.
That sucks.
So apparently the other boys, they went out and spread the word of this monster that they saw, and apparently somebody got a posse together because the scene was completely torn up.
This feels so Hopkinsville. It does.
Yeah. So that wasn't the last to be heard of the creature. There was another sighting reported on a couple of nights later at somebody's residence. And unfortunately, this time a child had wandered into this mist that was on the ground. Apparently, that's a trait of the Flatwoods monster, is that it lets out this sort of foul-smelling mist. Now, this child had to be hospitalized for 3 days after being exposed to it.
Wow, okay.
And the doctor said she had symptoms of mustard gas exposure.
Oh, God.
But there was no trace of, but there was no trace of mustard gas.
Mm.
And all the witnesses reported similar symptoms, throat swelling and nasal irritation.
Yeah.
Says that one boy had problems with his throat for up to 3 weeks after the encounter. So that's the story of the encounter.
Wow. That's a freaky story, though. Again, you got to put it into perspective. It sounds like a kind of a kid's little, like a Goosebumps mini movie or something, but if you think about it realistically, that's pretty damn freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think it was an alien or?
Well, the things I've read about it say that it's extraterrestrial, alien-like, but I don't know. I don't think that someone could come out there and create that and make it happen. I think it has to be something otherworldly. So I'm going to go with alien on it.
Yeah, I kind of think the same thing. And I heard an interesting theory also that some people believe that whatever they were seeing that they, decided was the monster was actually some sort of alien vehicle or like an armor kind of device that the alien was riding in, because some accounts say that it has like a metallic sort of appearance. Like it's almost like a machine or a robot or something, and it hovers along the ground.
Oh, God.
So take that of what you will.
Darkfall says they did a segment on Mysteries at the Museum on the Flatwoods Monster. That's cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Neat.
So the Flatwoods Monster is actually a pretty popular, I don't know if you want to call it a cryptid or whatever. It's appeared on numerous TV shows and
would you mind
appeared in pop culture
if I did some of the pop culture things since you did the story? Because you actually know about these and I didn't. This is cool. So when I read it, it's like, whoa, okay. Because you don't see like now I'm sure you could find a list and Bigfoot. Remember we talked about Grand Theft Auto, I think it was San Andreas, supposedly Bigfoot would show up, which it doesn't happen, but it's always cool when they make their way into pop culture. So the Flatwoods Monster appears as the final boss to the NES video game Amagon, and the stage 2 boss of the video game Space Harrier 2, which you said you were going to play tomorrow and face this creature. In the anime series, Sergeant Frog, an alien modeled after the Flatwoods Monster, appears in the episode Fake It Till You Make It.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that episode.
The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask features creatures referred to as them invading Romani Ranch, and that bear a striking resemblance to the Flatwoods Monster. While they're obviously meant to be aliens, they're most likely to be believed to be ghosts or demons by the residents of Zelda universe, as they live in a fantasy world where the concept of life on other planets doesn't exist. I don't think they ever say that concept doesn't exist. I think they just don't talk about it. Anyway, in the Wii U game, The Wonderful 101, the character Gimme has a striking resemblance. On the show Mountain Monsters on Destination America, which my mom watches, The Ames team goes to Braxton County, West Virginia to investigate a similar cryptid, the shadow creature. This could possibly be a reptilian version of the monster, only without the skirt-like structure around its waist. That's kind of cool.
Huh.
In the 3DS,
what episode that was? Check that out.
Yeah, I would watch that. In the 3DS game Tomodachi Life, the Flatwood monster makes an appearance along with other cryptids in a mystery interior. And on the Xbox Live Arcade Happy Wars, there is a weapon called the Flatwoods Monster. So
it's gonna straight up be a weapon.
It gets around. Yeah, that's like screw using Bigfoot's traits. I'm gonna straight up use Bigfoot.
Whatever this thing, it has a really iconic look to it.
It does. It's freaky looking.
So we can put some artwork of it up on the webpage tomorrow. Let everybody check it out, or you can do a quick Google search.
Yep,
and find some cool stuff.
Dark Fall says Bigfoot shows up in Red Dead. Cool. I actually didn't know that. That's neat. So I love Red Dead. Such a great one. One of my top 5 favorite games ever.
DLC adventure, I believe.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Red Dead Redemption. And if that's true, I need to be playing that like tonight. I'm going to have to look that up. Megan, would you look that up for me? Red Dead.
I think it's the
Redemption.
Sasquatch.
Because I
think you get attacked in your cabin by you turn in for the night and then you get attacked by Sasquatch.
Oh, during the zombie DLC. You know what? I probably just don't remember because I have played and beaten the zombie DLC. That is tough. That is a tough little DLC. It's hard. It is. You get like no ammo in that one, which is realistic. Let's face it. There wouldn't just be a plethora of ammo in real life. So it's really cool. You got to kind of run around and do the best you can. It's more human than a lot of games would be in the zombie apocalypse. So it's pretty awesome. It says, no, you hunt them to extinction. Yeah, I remember that. You go up in the wood, you go up in the mountains, and there's like one over by the stream or whatever. I remember that, and I felt really bad. I think you have a choice whether you want to kill the last one in existence or not. Is that right? I remember doing that, and I chose to kill it because I'm a savage piece of garbage. But no, no, I remember feeling really bad. I was like, no, it's Sasquatch. It's the Sam Squanch. Yeah, that part was more horrifying than the zombies. All right, so, well, what else is there to say about the Flatwoods Monster? It's one of those that'll forever be infamous. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of sightings, but I read I wanted to bring it up on the show, but it's just too long. But it looks like the Hopkinsville goblins have potentially returned.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, maybe next week, if you can remind me, put that on our script for next week. Can you remember that?
Yeah, I can.
And then we'll go through that and talk about the Hopkinsville goblins and see if we think they've returned. It's a pretty long read, but it's interesting.
Maybe they heard the show and decided to come back.
Hey, somebody noticed us.
These guys think we're a joke.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. So whatever. Now let's go ahead and transition to listener questions, and then we'll do the not terror stories. I think that seems like the natural transition. What do you think?
Yeah. What are we at on time?
We're 1:55, so we're good actually. 1:59. Yeah, we got time. It'll be all right. We'll just have to keep it a little shorter than we like to do. All right, so in your opinion, do you think aliens have anything to do with ghosts? And this comes from Diane.
You mean I've never thought of that.
No.
I don't think so, no. Not that not that aliens would be responsible for ghosts. However, I think that you can apply, if you consider multiverse theories and that, they have the ability to transition the different universes, maybe perchance they could maybe leave a remnant, a spirit, like a leftover remnant energy, I guess, to be experienced.
Yeah.
But
it's certainly not out of the realm of possible.
Theory. Nah. I mean, there's no way I can say for sure.
Right.
I don't think
we won't
I guess
Bill Nye
that's
it.
my answer. Though. Yeah.
Let's make that a term around
I guess
here.
That's my answer.
That's a good answer. Yeah, don't Bill Nye it. Don't just cut it off like that. Darkfall says the podcast is so good I lost track of time. I know, we lose track. I appreciate that you think that, though. We love having you, man. We appreciate it. We try to be interesting. Sometimes it works. Maybe sometimes it doesn't. It is what it is. I'm going to say that I stand with it's absolutely in the realm of possible. I don't know. I guess we need to understand ghosts better before we can really understand if an alien would have one. I would assume so, but it's just an assumption. All right. Now, thank you for writing, and please do write again. That's awesome. Good question. Now, what do you think the criteria would be to become a part of the interstellar community if there is such a thing? This comes from Alan. Well, Alan, I think you would have to apply for a license, get the patents. But no, I don't know.
I think
you got to have that. What was that at the top of the show? You got to get together and sign a treaty. Is what you got to do.
Yeah, we're working on that now.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, I think you have to. I believe that there's probably a certain point you have to reach in society as well as your technological level,
and
that I think we have to reach the point. Hopefully we'll be able to reach this point before we eradicate each other.
Sure.
In that we've achieved some level of world peace, and we hopefully regard war as just fruitless and stupid. It is. Hopefully we reach that point, but I think you've got to meet that criteria.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't touch on this technology. I'm going to refer back to Star Trek for a moment, and that the prime directive rule, like
it always comes back to that.
If we encounter a new species, in Star Trek universe anyway, we're not going to make contact with them unless they have achieved what they call the warp drive age.
In
other words, they've achieved space flight, and they're starting to explore their galaxies, and they've achieved warp drive technology, so they have the potential to leave their galaxy. At that point, you might consider meeting another species. Otherwise, if you meet them before that, you could completely derail their technological advancement.
Sure.
Timing
is a big deal with most things. It comes down to timing.
Yeah, which I think that's if the government is not in touch with extraterrestrials, I think they're probably following a similar rule, that they don't really want to communicate with us directly or just completely out themselves publicly, because that would completely derail our own development. Because if you think about it, if you hinder a species from, developing as they would, without having met you, you could potentially be taking away from the table some new ideas that they would have come up with naturally on their own.
Sure.
By injecting your own influence on their technology.
Yeah, I mean, you affect things like if we all of a sudden tomorrow found out what ghosts actually were, and we were all right, then everybody would have different preconceived notions, and it would affect the science. It would affect it would change the belief systems. Going into things like that, you greatly risk changing the way people think and feel about stuff. So, yeah, if it's too soon, there's this, and if it's too late, there's that. Yeah, you make an interesting point. I was just really the long way around with agreeing with you.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, the criteria would be, I don't know, be up to par, tread lightly. I don't know. I mean, who's to say?
Be worth talking to, for one thing.
That's it. That's really what it all boils down to, isn't it?
Again, we like to think of ourselves as the most important species because it is our species. Right.
Right.
Why wouldn't you, kind of put yourself on center stage?
Self-interest, absolutely.
At this point in time and space, like, to a species that could potentially travel time, cross dimensions, cross the vastness of space,
Mm-hmm.
what do we bring to the table? Like, why would they want to talk to us? Why would you want to go out in your yard and have a conversation with an ant?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Could we even understand? Maybe that's part of the criteria. That, maybe we're not at the level of intelligence that we could even comprehend what they're trying to say to us.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they're already talking. We just can't hear them yet. We don't know how to listen for them.
They could be giving us signals left and right, and that could essentially say, hey, we're here when you're ready to join us. When you can understand this and perceive this, you're welcome to join us on the interstellar stage.
The interstellar superhighway.
But until then, you're just an ant in the backyard.
Yeah. Well, Alan, there you go. I mean, I think that's about as well as you can nail such a thing. I don't know. It's another one of those. It's completely up to what you believe as an individual. But I think those, what we said was probably pretty close, I would guess. Yeah, you got to be worth your stock. I guess that's true with most things. All right, so thank you again, Alan, for writing. That's really awesome. Write us again. That's a cool question. Now, this comes from Brandon. I don't know if it's the Brandon we had on the show or a different Brandon, but hello, Brandon. Do you have any plans for any get-togethers at any point? No. Does anyone want to meet us? No, probably not. You probably already know us and think we're impressive, clearly, but no.
Tell you what, we kind of threw around the idea of possibly getting like a table or something at like a RobCon in the future.
Sure, yeah, maybe something like that.
So, maybe
like a night at the arcade for all the locals who know us and listen to the show. We go hang out and talk spooks, have some pizza, and play some Ninja Turtles arcade.
Like yeah,
but we're not professionals. We want to learn and be smarter than we were yesterday. Every show, and we love you guys.
I'll still sign your alien corpse, though.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We will autograph authentic alien artifacts.
We try to be professional, but we're not professionals in the science of these things exactly. But we will try to talk to people who are, or at least as close as we can get. So.
But one thing we can say for sure that if we do plan something, you'll definitely hear about it.
Absolutely. So. All right. Speaking of that, let's take a quick second now and say Wednesdays at 10, we've been doing these shows. All right. So schedule wise, Wednesdays at 10 is pretty terrible for me. I'm usually doing stuff on Wednesday and Thursday. And so what we're going to do is we're going to move to Tuesdays. Now, do you want to stick at 10, Ryan? I think we discussed 10's probably all right. It gives people time to get their kids in bed for school and things like that. So Tuesdays at 10, we're going to be doing Retro After Dark, and I'll podcast on your grave. So I'm very sorry that this far in we're changing it, but it's just been one thing after another with it. It's been hard to pull it together. Not idea-wise so much as just timing. It's just not been good. So this is going to work a lot better for us. So if you can, we would love it. Tuesdays at 10, we're going to do our other shows.
I wish this was our job, but sadly it's not.
Right.
So we have adult lives outside
unfortunately,
of this.
there is adulting to do. Yeah. Yeah, when you got to get kids bathing in bed by a certain time and stuff, it's hard to do a show at 8:00 on, or whatever. And then on the weekends, they're out and they're crazy and they're up all night. So this will work better for us. And I hope that you guys, it won't bother you at all. So, so there's that. We're moving the show, and we're going to start that this Tuesday at 10 Eastern with, I guess, I'll podcast on your grave is the natural next show. So it'll be fun. So we hope to see you there. Now, let me read at least one of these little night terror stories, and then we'll get out of here. I'll play my song next week since we're already over in time. I'll just save it for then. I've got 100 songs, but there's one in particular I was wanting to play. And I'll just wait and do that next week. So, okay. So here, night terror stories to creep you out. I remember the very first time I suffered from a night terror. I don't know why this started to happen to me all of a sudden. I don't even wish it on my own worst enemy. It was a hot summer night like any other, and I actually went to bed a little earlier than usual. I believe it was about 10:30 or so, and I fell asleep right away since I was too tired. Suddenly, I felt someone staring at me, and I thought someone had broken into my room, but I was all alone. After a while longer, feeling uneasy, I fell back to sleep. Then again, a little while later, I woke up, but this time someone was in my room. I was getting out of bed, but I was paralyzed with fear. As much as I struggled and tried moving, nothing happened. Suddenly, the bed started to sink with me into it. While all this time, whatever it was in the room watching me silently, only the yellow eyes of the dark figure looking back as I kept sinking deeper and deeper. I kept struggling, screaming at the top of my lungs while everything was happening, but no one heard my cries. Then, the tentacles started to surround my bed, pushing me even further. There was nothing more I could do but lose consciousness as I was losing my breath. All I remember after that was waking up to the sound of my alarm blinking 7 a.m. It felt like a never-ending night as I looked all over for the yellow thing. Everything seems back to normal, though. I don't know why this happened to me, but these occurrences keep happening a few times a week. I got to the point where I couldn't handle it anymore. I take medication to avoid the nightmares, but I still believe there's something sinister after me. That's scary. I don't even like the sound of that.
What do you do if it's happening multiple times a week?
Right.
That's terrifying.
It is. Now, I don't know the folks who write these stories so much. It could be made up, but it's about the spook factor mostly for me. And I can definitely see how that could happen. Having heard other night terror stories, the realm, it's limitless. It's scary stuff. All right, so we got time. Let me squeeze in one more. I have two more, but I'll just do one. I'll save number 3, the warning, for next week. All right, so I'm talking on behalf of my 63-year-old mother. She means everything to me, and I don't know what to do. I'm taking her to doctors for her illness, and sometimes the medication works, but it's getting to the point where it's mostly useless. It all started after the passing of my father about a year ago. We actually thought it was some sort of depression, but now these recurring night terrors are getting out of hand. She falls asleep normally in between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m. She starts screaming uncontrollably. She has the night terror every single night. 3 figures with dark hoodies show up. She screams, "Leave me alone," over and over when I go into her room. There's nothing and no one there. She tells me the dark figures are torturing her and no one comes to help. When I go to her room, no one's there. I feel useless because I know how much she's suffering. She tells me she's in great pain, but I don't see any physical marks on her. But I know it takes a toll on her both mentally and emotionally. She's not the same as she used to be. She does not enjoy the stuff she used to do before. She fears the night, and she's deteriorating, and I can't do anything about it. So take out...
It's heartbreaking.
It is. Take out what's causing it and whether it's real or not. The situation is wreaking havoc on the lady. It goes to show that no matter what, and I think that's what where we'll land on next week's show about lucid dreams and things. No matter what, they affect you greatly, real or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we'll have to take away from that one. That's so freaky. I feel really sorry for the folks involved in that, but that's how it goes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's our show. Always wrap up on a spooky one, I guess, right? That's the way to go. All right, so
sweet
as usual,
dreams, everyone.
Yeah, sweet dreams. So as usual, head over to midnightspookhouse.com. You can comment on any of the shows if you want to talk. We'll reply. We will, I promise. You can use the contact us link and send us messages and emails and all those cute little things. Tell us your stories. We would love to hear them, as always. We respect privacy and things, so don't worry about that. Just tell us how you'd like the story delivered, and that's how we'll do it. On Twitter, we're The Spook House, and on Facebook, The Midnight Spook House. On mixlr.com/The Spook House, The-Spook House. You can get the app in the iOS store or the Play Store. And there's that. There's nothing more to it, really. Lots of ways to listen. Lots of ways to get in touch with us. And we had fun. So thanks, everybody who hung out with us. I'm sorry we ran late once again. We're getting bad about this. Darkfall says, before we go, I always assumed aliens would try to hold us back until we were a less violent species. I can see that, for sure. Mm-hmm. What good are we going to do anybody if we're just road raging?
Yeah.
That guy's not thinking clearly. He's not contributing. He's just pissed off. So I absolutely can agree with that. Good thought, Darkfalls.
That's the message we put out right now.
Yeah. It
as a
is.
Species. And
you got it.
That's heartbreaking to me.
It is, isn't it?
We could be so much more.
Yeah, we really could. But we're not, and why should we be? Because that wouldn't be American, would it? I'm just joking. No, America's great. Don't get us wrong. We would never hate America. It's the politics and it's the attitudes. That's all it is. Still a great country. But yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out with us tonight. And I'm sorry we were off on Wednesday. We were off an hour. But again, I was on vacation, and it was much needed, I promise. But yeah, we'll be back Tuesday with All Podcasts on Your Grave at 10 p.m. Eastern, and we'd love to see you there. And for me, that's all. Good night.
That's good. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I really appreciate it. Hope everybody has a good night.